The last couple of months can only be described as a roller coaster ride for battery electric and hydrogen-powered semi-truck maker Nikola.
In just a couple of weeks, Nikola has gone from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows.
On June 9th, just a few days after its initial public offering, Nikola's market cap briefly surpassed that of Ford, making its founder Trevor Milton a billionaire in the process.
The hot new electric vehicle maker Nikola has been surging since its June 4th debut, up over 87%.
For a company that hasn't brought a product to market and has practically no revenue, the valuation raised some eyebrows. Still, a major deal with a trusted U.S. automaker seemed to legitimize Nikola.
Nikola forming a strategic partnership with General Motors this morning. Nikola Badger will be engineered and manufactured by GM. GM getting an 11% ownership stake in Nikola as a result, and the right to nominate one director to the board.
But only a few days later, Nikola began to unravel.
Hindenburg Research put out a report yesterday accusing Nikola of being an intricate fraud.
And the hits have just kept on coming.
Trevor Milton, the founder of electric truck company Nikola, is voluntarily stepping down as executive chairman and giving up his board seat. This move comes after short seller Hindenburg Research accused Milton of making false statements about Nikola's technology in order to try and grow and secure partnerships with automakers.
CNBC has now confirmed that two women have come forward with sexual assault allegations against Nikola founder Trevor Milton.
I think the euphoria got ahead of itself, and it really became a nightmare on Elm Street few weeks for Nikola. And I think right now, going forward, it's a prove me stock that's squarely in the investor penalty box till they prove otherwise.
With the SEC and the DOJ now both reportedly looking into Nikola, and the company's deal with GM uncertain, what does the future hold for the one-time Wall Street darling? CNBC visited Nikola's headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona to get a first-hand look at its Nikola 2 hydrogen fuel cell truck prototype.
So he's going to turn on the system, so he pushes that button and it'll turn on the high voltage system.
And to find out if Nikola can be a real contender in the emerging hydrogen truck market.
The condenser on the HVAC.
The morning of our visit, CNBC met with members of Nikola's team at a racetrack near the company's headquarters. The Nikola 2 prototype that we saw was built about 2 years ago, but there were some technical difficulties.
So the fuel cell did not boot up. Okay. We need to cycle T15 or?
Let me see on the screen where it's manning it.
There's no current output from the fuel cell.
CNBC returned to the track a few hours later when the Nikola team was able to get the semi going.
Typically, in a Class 8 diesel truck, you have things like turbo that has to spool up, and you have the torque converter that has to spool up. In the Nikola 2s and the Nikola trays, it's instant torque. There's no spool up for torque, so you have torque right away, which gives you a much more responsive reaction time for the driver.
Nikola has an ambitious list of business ventures. It positions itself as an energy company as well as a maker of powersport vehicles, though the latter seems to have become a footnote in the company's business plan. Nikola's main focus is to disrupt the over $1 trillion global trucking market by replacing diesel semis with zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell and electric trucks.
The hydrogen fuel cell truck, when you're looking at longer distances where you need higher power density and payload and weight becomes more significant, we believe that that is the better solution for customers. Batteries are going to be more relevant for shorter distances and operations where a customer's truck leaves from a certain location and then returns to that location over time.
The company was founded by Trevor Milton in 2015 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Like the inspiration of another famous electric car maker, the name Nikola comes from inventor Nikola Tesla, who is best known for developing the basis of alternating electric current. The company's headquarters have since moved to Phoenix. In July, Nikola broke ground on a $600 million factory about an hour away in Coolidge, Arizona. CNBC did not visit the site of the factory, where Nikola says that it is on schedule to produce its Nikola Tre semi starting in 2022, and its Nikola 2 trucks starting in 2023.
The Nikola Tre is a battery electric vehicle. It's powered only by batteries, where the Nikola 2 will be powered by a hydrogen fuel cell, which takes hydrogen on board and combines it with oxygen from the air and makes the electricity that way. The only byproduct of that is water. It's a really elegant way to power a heavy-duty truck and allows you to get a heavy-duty truck a lot farther than you can with batteries. So 2 different trucks, 2 different missions.
Nikola says it's already building 5 prototypes of the Nikola tray in Germany for testing, and that initial production of the tray will be done by Nikola partner Iveco in Germany. Along with building semis, Nikola is attempting to construct a network of 700 hydrogen stations in North America, and an additional 70 stations in Europe in the next 8 to 10 years to fuel its trucks. The company has said it will make its own hydrogen by using energy from solar and other renewable resources. Nikola plans to bundle the cost of maintenance, hydrogen fuel, and its semis as part of a 7-year or 700,000-mile lease. Nikola, along with GM, also plans to build a consumer pickup truck called the Badger. CNBC did not get to see the Badger while in Phoenix. So far, only renderings of the vehicle have been made available. Nikola said the pickup was not slated to debut until December.
The original idea with GM was that we would partner on the Badger pickup truck. They would provide their Ultium battery and their Hydrotech fuel cell system, and we would provide the concept and the design. But more importantly, the relationship was going to be about the technology that GM can help bring to the table here at Nikola.
News of the deal back in September brought a surge to Nikola stock.
If you looked at the company prior to its announcement with General Motors, you essentially had an undercapitalized startup with no manufacturing capability. So they were essentially a design firm, an idea. They get a partnership with GM that includes access to technology that's incredibly difficult to develop on your own, A, and manufacturing capability that is incredibly expensive and difficult to develop on your own. And all of a sudden, Nikola becomes like a legitimate player where they weren't before. For General Motors, it seemed like a can't lose proposition initially because they essentially get to ride the coattails of this SPAC trend where somebody gets huge stock appreciation just for essentially having an outlet to sell their technology and to contract manufacture effectively someone else's vehicles.
But the partnership and the fate of the Badger now seem to be up in the air, following fraud and sexual assault allegations against Nikola founder and former executive chairman Trevor Milton. Still, there is hope that the deal will go through.
We're totally excited about the opportunity. We've been developing fuel cells here for commercial use for a while. We've got a joint venture with Honda. We think we have a technological lead on it. Nikola agrees. So the opportunity to put our fuel cells into a Class 7 and 8 vehicle is spectacular. So we know there's great operational cost advantages, there are great efficiencies, and there's great opportunities. So we continue to work the opportunity with Nikola.
A public filing by Nikola says the deal may be terminated by either side if it's not closed by December 3rd.
The Badger was something we were doing because a lot of people were interested in it. And we said from the beginning that if we build the Badger, it will be with a partner. If we don't have a partner, we probably won't build the Badger.
In the meantime, Nikola is focusing on its core business of building semis.
We have a backlog of over 14,000 orders for the Nikola 2. We haven't disclosed our backlog for the other vehicles at this point, although we have disclosed some customers. We have disclosed our contract with Anheuser-Busch for 800 trucks and our contract with Republic Services for 2,500 trucks.
Despite this early interest, Nikola's future remains in limbo as a slew of controversy surrounds the company. Perhaps nowhere is Nikola's short and turbulent history as a company represented better than in the roller coaster ride its stock price has taken since going public. Nikola went public on June 4th through a transaction known as a SPAC. The process forgoes the traditional IPO, which is often lengthy, expensive, and requires the disclosure of a lot of information.
As soon as they created the new company through the SPAC, they all of a sudden got a huge market capitalization. When you're doing an IPO, you have to put out what's called an S1 that essentially is the full disclosure of everything about your business. And it has a long list of essentially warnings and risk signs about reasons why you might fail. With a SPAC, you don't have to do that.
Nikola's stock skyrocketed on June 9th, after then executive chairman Trevor Milton tweeted that reservations of the Badger would open up June 29th. Since then, the stock has taken numerous hits. Throughout the years, Nikola, and in many cases Trevor Milton in particular, have been criticized for touting breakthrough technology that was later revealed to be vaporware, and inflating the company's progress. For example, in December of 2016, Milton unveiled Nikola's first prototype semi-truck, the Nikola 1.
Oh, that thing is so awesome. Oh, we've been waiting so long to show this to the world. You have no idea. It's just, it's hard to even contain my emotion about this.
At the event, Milton explained that visitors would be able to go on stage and look at the truck, but not enter the cabin.
We will have a chain on the seats to prevent people from coming in just for the safety. I don't want someone to end up doing something and driving this truck off the stage. But this thing fully functions and works, which is really incredible.
Despite the grand reveal, at the time, Nikola was far from having a working prototype. According to a report published by Bloomberg earlier this year, the truck that Nikola showed off to the crowd in December of 2016 was not only inoperable, but it also lacked components, including gears, motors, and the hydrogen fuel cell to power the vehicle. In the months following the Nikola 1 unveiling, Nikola secured partnerships with big names in the automotive industry, including Bosch, fuel cell maker PowerCell AB, and hydrogen company Nel. Then, in January of 2018, Nikola released a video titled Nikola 1 Electric Semi-Truck in Motion. The video seemed to show the Nikola 1 speeding along an empty road. 2 years later, the video, among 43 or so other claims, was cited as evidence of fraud by Milton in a scathing report released by short-selling firm Hindenburg Research. Hindenburg said that Nikola had staged the semi to make it appear as if it were moving by rolling it down a hill. Nikola rebutted the fraud claims, saying that there were dozens of inaccurate allegations in the report. Milton took to Twitter, calling the report a hit job and pointing out that the short seller stood to gain from tanking Nikola stock. But the company didn't dispute Hindenburg's claim that it had staged a video showing the Nikola 1 appearing to be functional, when it wasn't. I asked Nikola's CEO about the Bloomberg and Hindenburg reports over a remote interview. How do you respond to critics that say that Nikola has a track record of exaggerating the capabilities of its vehicles?
So we built the Nikola 1 back in 2016 as a concept prototype. And during the manufacturing or the building of that prototype, we made a pivot to hydrogen power. The original concept for the Nikola 1 was natural gas. So even during the construction of that prototype back in 2016, we were in the process of pivoting to our current business model, which is hydrogen-based for a fuel cell truck.
So why did Nikola end up saying that video, the Motion in 1 video, the truck was moving by itself when it clearly wasn't?
Our point is that the Nikola 1 was a groundbreaking prototype, and we learned a lot from building it, and that helped give birth to the business model that we've been following in the years since.
Back in 2019, Nikola teased having invented a new battery cell technology that Milton said is the biggest advancement we have seen in the battery world. It later came out in a lawsuit that Nikola intended to obtain this breakthrough technology by acquiring battery company Zapco. Nikola sued Zapco after finding out that the battery technology that Zapco claimed to have didn't exist. In a subsequent press release, Nikola refuted that Zapco was the inventor of this breakthrough battery technology and says that the battery advancements are related to an R&D partnership with an academic institution. Still, Nikola seems to be outsourcing battery production to suppliers. There are some claims that Nikola has not come up with any of its own battery and fuel cell tech, but is instead using technology built by GM and Romeo Systems. What's your response to this?
Batteries for vehicles use cells that are put into modules, which are then put into battery packs. Nikola owns our battery pack design. The battery pack that we're using on the prototypes in Germany today contains modules that were developed by Romeo and contains cells that were provided by another supplier. Cells are provided by only a handful of people for almost all vehicles worldwide.
In the past, Milton has also often touted that Nikola is able to produce hydrogen at an extremely low price. Here he is on the Tesla Charts podcast.
We've been able to chop the cost of hydrogen from $16 a kilogram down to, we're down below $3 a kilogram on our hydrogen now, which is $4 per kilogram as parity with diesel.
Again, I asked Nikola for clarification. Is Nikola currently producing any hydrogen?
Nikola is not producing hydrogen at the moment.
Nikola has drawn criticism even for technology that does exist. One of the specific claims that Hindenburg made was that Nikola regularly uses off-the-shelf products from third parties and then claims that it makes its parts in-house. One of the things that they pointed to was the inverters in the Nikola 2 powertrain that were made by Cascadia Motion. Why did Nikola say that its technology was mostly proprietary and then backtrack and say that it's mostly an aggregator? Kind of which is it?
So Nikola from the beginning has been a partner company. We partnered very early on with Bosch, particularly on the e-axles, on the batteries, on inverters. We've partnered with Bosch on those components for several years now. We partner with other companies on other parts of our business model, Nel for hydrogen stations and things like that. So we've been very clear about the fact that we use partnerships in developing our vehicles, but the software, the design of the components overall, that's what Nikola does.
Nikola is even embattled in a lawsuit with Tesla. In the suit, Nikola accuses Tesla of stealing the design for the Tesla Semi from the Nikola One. In a countersuit, Tesla claims that Nikola itself stole the design from Croatian automaker Rimac Automobili.
It's not necessarily the end of the world if Nikola does not own this special technology. Inside the auto industry, it is extremely common to buy technology from suppliers. What's uncommon is having someone say that you are the one making the technology when you're not. And that's a different issue than whether there's a viability to the company or not.
Even if Nikola recovers from the mounds of controversy, the company has staked its success on a technology that's proven difficult to build out.
Hydrogen fuel cells have not really been developed for the commercial segment because there are a huge number of obstacles. One, the physical fuel cell is very expensive. To be able to break a hydrogen atom apart, you need to hit a catalyst that's usually made of very expensive material like platinum or gold.
Basically, battery-powered and fuel cell-powered vehicles are not too different, as both use electricity to power an electric motor. The former stores electricity in the battery until it's needed, while in the latter, hydrogen fuel chemically fuses with oxygen in an electrochemical reaction. The reaction produces an electrical current and releases water vapor as a byproduct. Beyond the cost of the fuel cell itself, at the moment, producing and storing hydrogen is still expensive and difficult. In June, Nikola said it purchased over $30 million worth of electrolyzers from Nel, which Nikola says it will use to equip its first 5 hydrogen filling stations to produce the necessary hydrogen on site.
It's not like electricity, it's like a fuel that you have to refine. And then once you have it, it's hard to squash it down, right? It wants to go everywhere. So hydrogen has to be kept under a huge amount of pressure. You do have to have very expensive, extremely high pressure tanks.
But by far the biggest hurdle is the billions of dollars of infrastructure that needs to be built.
You have to build the stations, you have to build the refining capability, you have to have the trucks that can move hydrogen to the stations or the pipes under the ground to move them to the stations. You put it all together and it's like, wow, there's an absolutely lot of things that have to happen before hydrogen fuel cells are going to proliferate in a large scale.
According to the U.S. Department of Energy, there are just over 40 public hydrogen fuel stations in the country, with all but one in California.
My speculation is that it will be into the 2050, 2060 range before we have really wide-scale hydrogen fuel cell infrastructure.
Nikola has been vocal about plans to partner with established energy companies as a way to build out its hydrogen infrastructure, but those plans have hit a roadblock. Still, Nikola is betting on hydrogen fuel cell technology for 2 reasons.
You essentially get much faster refueling times, 5 minutes for the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle compared to 45 minutes for the battery vehicle. You also, with a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, get about 5 times better energy storage per unit volume and weight. So that frees up more room in the automobile for other things, passenger space, storage space, and also allows you to go further. So you're going to get longer ranges with a fuel cell vehicle.
Having more space is especially appealing for the trucking market, where every spare inch can be used to transport extra revenue-building cargo. Today, new developments are starting to make fuel cell technology cheaper, and new government regulations are giving the hydrogen market a boost. In addition to Nikola, Toyota and its truck subsidiary Hino are working on a hydrogen truck, as is Hyundai. France's oil and gas giant Total also recently invested in hydrogen fuel cell truck and bus startup Hyzon Motors. But one car maker who stands diametrically opposed to using hydrogen fuel tech for vehicles is Tesla. In fact, Elon Musk has gone as far as calling the technology mind-bogglingly stupid. Instead, Tesla is working on an electric semi-truck, which it hopes to start delivering in 2021. Still, analysts don't see Nikola and Tesla as being in direct competition.
Currently, I think they only compete in the sense that they are both in a cutting-edge technology and that people may group them together in their minds, but in the actual market, they don't compete very much.
It's easy to lose track of Nikola's goals among the company's many projects and ever-changing business model. But Nikola's success will ultimately hinge on whether or not it can bring hydrogen fuel cell technology to market safely, reliably, and cost-effectively.
The biggest challenges we see facing the company going forward are hitting our milestones. We've got our 5 Nikola tray prototypes being completed in Germany, and then we move on to production of the tray next year. We break ground on hydrogen stations next year. We start on prototypes of the Nikola 2 next year, and then we move on to the production of the Nikola 2 in 2023.
Even if Nikola manages to hit these milestones, profitability likely remains distant. As of Q2 of 2020, the only revenue that Nikola has recorded has come from solar panel installations for Milton. Even the CEO seemed confused by this.
I'm not sure exactly why that was included. We're a pre-revenue company. We're going to make money by building trucks and by providing fuel for them.
In order to get from where they are now to even their first product, there's a lot of capital that will have to be spent.
As for how critical the GM partnership is to the success of Nikola, analysts disagree.
If the GM partnership falls apart, dark days ahead. The company already has sort of a black cloud over their head, and I think investors, could hit the sell button given there's more risk to execution in the near term.
I don't think, despite the revelations that have come out, that this is necessarily a bad move by GM anyway. Startups generally come from 2 things. They either are a technology that is seeking a business, right? Or they are a business idea that is seeking technology to implement it. So if Nikola is simply an interesting business idea where they have to collect together technologies and then eventually develop their own, that's what Tesla did. Tesla didn't have technology when it started, but it does now. And so I think that it's not crazy to invest in a company like this, even if they don't have a lot of their own technology.